Hey guys, it's M4J here and welcome back to M4J Transport here on Cities in Motion 2. Today we are redoing the trolleys. I think I mentioned this last episode, in fact, that we were going to be redoing the trolleys. We're going to be redoing a lot of things over the next couple of episodes. Originally I was going to redo the entire city's worth of trolleys in this episode, but it took me about an hour and a half, I think it was, to actually do the North Island. So the South Island will be coming back to at a later date. What I have done in this episode is completely remove all trolley wires outside of the not Transrapid, that's OpenTCD, outside of the Rapid Trolley network. Now, unfortunately, me doing that has messed up the Rapid Trolley network, but because we're redoing that next episode, I think it was, it doesn't matter too much anyway, because a lot of it is going to be moved to new stops underground. So all the trolley lines have been removed. All the trolley wires have also been removed. Before I get further into this episode, I do just want to vocalize how disappointed I am in Friday, or about Friday. Friday's episode, at the time of me recording this, I'm recording this Monday afternoon, so you'll be watching it a few hours after I record this bit of audio. As of now, Friday's episode has 37 views and 8 likes. Now again, the view to like ratio is pretty good, but the view count is so low. And I'm starting to wonder, particularly as episode 40 is next episode, I am starting to wonder, is this series worth continuing? And I don't want to stop making videos on this game, because I am really starting to enjoy this game again. I'm starting to look past the bugs and the crashes and the glitches and actually appreciate the game for what it was once more. But so often I get messages and comments from people saying, please continue this series, I really like it. So where are they? Like, where are those people? I'm sure more than 37 people have messaged me saying keep this going. I do like the like count. I appreciate that. All of my videos, in fact, the like count has significantly risen since I started campaigning for it. So I'm very grateful for that. But you compare last episode to the episodes before that, and it's almost half the view count, which is not good enough, to be perfectly honest. It is not good enough, and it's not viable. So I'm a bit torn at the moment. Next week is my week off anyway. As you know, I take a week off after 5 weeks. So I'm going to have a week and a bit to think about it. But the view count for last Friday, today, and this coming Friday are going to have to be significantly higher in order for me to actually think this series is worth continuing. And I hate saying that, but it's the truth. Especially when all the other series on my channel are really starting to pick up and get views, and also get comments and likes, the sub count as well, particularly OpenTTD, that is trailblazing its way through my channel at the moment, that series. And this series is meant to match that, as they're both flagship series of the channel. So if one is lacking and the other is strong, then more focus will be put on the strong side and not on the lacking side, if that makes sense. So I'm willing to give this a chance still. As I said, there's 3 episodes now where if the view count gets significantly higher, then the series will continue. And I hate saying this because it's the 3rd episode in a row where I've said this now, but come on guys, it's really not much effort just to tell people about the channel. It really isn't. I know it might seem like it, but it really isn't. All you have to do is open your mouth and let the words come out. It's as simple as that. Anyway, back to the video. So my conversation topic for today is actually to do with trolleys, believe it or not. Back in the day, way back when life was in black and white, we did have trolleys in the UK. Mostly they replaced trams. Some cases they were sort of precursors to the modern day bus network. We had them in London, I do believe, and we also had them in Blackpool, I think, and even up in places like Newcastle. I think Manchester did as well. I might be making this up. I do get a little confused sometimes between trams and trolleys. I know what they are, don't get me wrong, I know what they are, I know how to distinguish them visually, but in terms of history, there are certain crossovers. The only modern city I can think of off the top of my head currently that does have a modern day trolley network, or at least did when I was there, was Geneva in Switzerland. And they have a very, very big tram network, and it's complemented very nicely with a large bus network and a trolley network. And I think actually I'd seen pictures of trolleys and I knew what they were, but when I went to Geneva it was the first time I'd seen a trolley in person, and I couldn't get my head around the fact that, I mean, I know why they do it, but it still doesn't make much sense to have a bus running on electricity from overhead wires and not just turn it into a tram and go the whole hog. It's never quite computed with me. I know San Francisco has a trolley network as well, but again, it's the same thing. What? Half the time the trolley actually runs next to the streetcars, so why not just have an extension of the streetcars and turn the trolley line into tram tracks? As I said in the past, I much prefer trains to trams, but I also much prefer trams to trolleys. So I don't know. This city though currently has 2 trolley lines, or it will at the end of this episode, which is more than the UK has, and that is actually my conversation topic. There are no trolley lines in the UK anymore. There might be 1 or 2 at museums. Again, I can't think off the top of my head, but there are no modern day trolley lines in the UK. That might be a good thing, that might be a bad thing. The trend at the moment is more eco-friendly buses in areas where there are no light rail, but the real trend is to build light rail lines. So in Manchester, for example, the Metrolink network in Manchester is growing significantly every year. Currently they're extending it to the Trafford Centre, which was, at the time of its opening, I believe, Europe's largest shopping centre. It's a very nice place, actually. I've been there, I'm trying to think how long ago it was, about 5 years ago, I think. It's a very nice place. It's got very unusual architecture for a shopping centre. It's kind of, one half of it is just this big block, you know, shops, big rectangle essentially. But the other side, it's kind of like a Roman, old Roman, with a little bit of Greek architecture. It's quite interesting to look. I'm not that into architecture most of the time, as I'm sure you've noticed from most of my series. I don't focus on what buildings look like, I focus on what goes on inside them. But every now and then I do see something that makes me think, wow, that's quite impressive. My graduation, for example, was at St Albans Abbey, which I knew was there, but I'd never visited it before. And even then, during the ceremony, I was sort of looking around and thinking, wow, this is a really old building and it's absolutely massive. It must have been almost impossible to actually construct. And I kind of felt like that with the shopping centre, which is really weird. But the Trafford Centre is one of those buildings where you just sort of look around and think, wow, this is quite impressive. So yeah, Manchester Metrolink is being extended there. And besides that, like I said, no trolleys. Which, I think it's a good thing, personally. I think trolleys are a little bit archaic, even though they are, like, in terms of, in theory, they are very modern and very practical and very efficient. But in terms of sort of history, trolleys are quite old. They've been around for a long time. And I do think a lot of modern trolleys are slowly being phased out and being replaced by just either generic buses or trams, light rail. Personal opinion, though. Everyone's entitled to a personal opinion, after all. So I'm going to talk very briefly again about what you're seeing on screen, and then I'm going to let the music take over for the rest of the time lapse. It was a very long time lapse, actually. It's the first time in a while that I've broken the hour boundary. So there is quite a lot of footage for you guys to see. I do dither a little bit at the start, and you can kind of see some moments later on in the episode as well where I get a little bit lost trying to divert these trolley lines. But essentially, the original bus hub we built, which used to be the site of the Majeffrey's Central Hub, MCH, that's what led, that was the catalyst for rebuilding the trolley network, was that hub was always getting clogged. So now I've made it so that only one trolley line currently, I think that's right, maybe two. I think it's just the one trolley line serves the MCH, which is not called the MCH in this map. Although it might be in the future, you never know. Only one trolley line serves that. One trolley line serves the other bus hub in the southeast corner of the island, and then both trolley lines serve the northern hub, which is also where the pre-metro and the metro terminate as well. That was done deliberately so that the trolley sort of serves more of a round the island kind of purpose, rather than what it was originally, which was just random placements. And I know people had some issues with the way I placed buses at the start of the series. I am now going back to the more methodical approach of trying to plan things out as best as possible. You will see it actually later on in the episode as well. I pick an avenue where I want the trolley line to run, and then end up accidentally going down the completely opposite avenue in a completely different part of the map, which, you know, not my finest hour, but I do think, like, sometimes I think, is this map big enough? And then I start sort of scrolling across it, and I realise it's absolutely massive in terms of a city. It's probably, if every single grid square on this map was built upon, which is impossible because the mountain's on the left-hand side, but were it possible, I would say this city would equal the size of some of the biggest cities in the world in terms of building mass, road mass, perhaps even population, were it to exist in real life. It is massive. I'd probably, I mean, I could be completely wrong here, but I would argue that the two islands combined are about the size of the central section of New York City. That's what it feels like. And again, you zoom out and you think, nah, that can't be real. But then you count the number of roads that go across, and you count the number of buildings between each road, and it actually starts to become a reality. You know, it starts to become more possible. You think, oh, actually, maybe it is that big. And that's how I felt building this trolley line, because every time I thought, right, I'm going to turn right here, and it turned out I was 2 or 3 roads away from where I actually needed to be. You know, it's a nice problem to have, having too much space, because you can really stretch out and build big. So yeah, like I said, these lines are more methodical. I've put more thought into them. I wish there was a planning tool like in OpenTTD, so I could actually map out where I wanted lines to go and then go back through and place them. It's easier to do with tram tracks and trolley wires, because you do just have to follow the wires or the track and you can see where the line is going. But with buses it is slightly more difficult, which is why I went for the kind of lazy, just build bus stops everywhere and then map out bus lines that link them all up. That's basically the reason, was to make it easier to actually see where the lines are supposed to go, because there's no necessarily thought out plan. There is thought that goes into it, obviously, but it's more random. Order from chaos is how I like to call it. So the first trolley line is now done on the screen. It's the shorter of the two. The second one is much longer. You can see how it links up some of where the old lines used to run, as well as connecting the two main hubs, and also connecting some other major parts of the North Island. I'm going to stop talking here now and let the music take over. We are back to the Planet Coaster soundtrack. Some people like it, some people don't. I'm going to mix things up a little bit more, like I said. What I might do is put all my compilations into one folder and just have a randomizer pick one out for me. Just so that everyone gets to hear the music that they like at various points. Oh, I will say one more thing before I do end. This roundabout, I rewired it. Like I said, I removed every single trolley wire from the above ground sections of the city. And again, this roundabout was one of the reasons behind that. So I've now got a more fluid way of navigating the roundabout, at least for the trolleys. The buses are still finding it a little bit difficult, I imagine, as the traffic is as well, I suppose. But overall, I think it's a much better system, so I'm quite happy with it. So yeah, I am going to let the music take over now, guys. Please, please, please help me get the view count up for these videos. If you like the series and you want it to continue, you know what to do. That's all I'm going to say on that. It's now up to you guys. You have 3 episodes, including last Friday's, in order to get this series recommissioned. Even then, like, normally I would say you have until the end of this week, but technically, as next week is my week off, I will hold back until not this weekend coming, but the weekend after, and then I'll make a decision as to whether the series continues. Whether or not the series continues, there will be one more video if it is cancelled, just to explain what's happening and why. I don't like leaving things on a cliffhanger, so there will always be one last episode at least. So yeah, Until then, guys, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and of course if you're enjoying the series. Drop some comments down below with ideas for future episodes, and head over to the name suggestions list at m4jmedia.com and leave your suggestions there, because you never know, this series might be continuing after all. Besides that, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued support. Enjoy the music, enjoy the time lapse, and until next time, I will see you soon.